warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce you from group 3 consisting of 2 people. My name is Susi Susanti and my colleague Mr. Sofian. We will present the history of interpreting. The history of interpreting. Language interpreting is known to date back to ancient Egypt during the 3rd millennium BC. The first record of interpreting were in the form of Egyptian low relief sculptures in a prince's tomb that made reference to an interpreter's feature. Strong importance of good business changed the way communication was carried out, and gestures were no longer enough. And so this is when the interpreter made his first appearance. Interpreters continue to be employed throughout the Middle Ages. Monks of many different nationalities interpret in monasteries. Priests of virgin land interpret in council, as well as some individuals interpreting on business expedition, military diplomatic meetings. During the age of discovery, the use of new and different languages had greatly changed the way we see interpretation today. Christopher Columbus, in his first voyage, noted that his Arabic and Hebrew speaking interpreters were not very helpful in communicating with the Indians. After this voyage, he decided to capture some Native Americans and teach them Spanish, so they could help him as interpreters on his next expedition. Tongue interpreting became more widespread in the post-war period with the creation of simultaneous interpreting to solve communication problems during the Nuremberg trials. Interpreting has actually existed since ancient Egypt. There are also records of interpreters in ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, and the work of interpreters has not changed much throughout the centuries, even during the Middle Age and the Age of Discovery. This situation continued until the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, when politicians began to speak in language other than French, the official language of diplomacy. This cleared the way for multilingualism. Okay, next, the number 1. The growing importance of good business relations meant that gestures were not longer enough, and so the interpreter made their first appearance. And the number 2, moreover, other ancient civilizations, for example, ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, have documented the existence of interpreters linked to other fields: administration, commerce, religion, and the army. The number 3, interpreters continued to be employed throughout the Middle Ages in monasteries, where there were monks of many different nationalities, in councils, accompanying preachers in foreign land, in synagogues, translating the Torah out loud, as well as in business expedition, military excursion, and diplomatic meetings. In the number 4, the only thing that really changed during the age of discovery with the use of new and different language.
This uh, During the first voyage, Christopher Columbus noticed that this Arabic and Hebrew speaking interpreter was not very useful and communicating with the Indian. Consequently, after this voyage, he decided to capture some Native American and teach them Spanish so they could help him to as interpreters on his next expedition. Uh, the same happened with the Spanish that were held captive by the native. They learned the language and culture and later served as interpreter. In Europe, French had replaced Italian and as the language of diplomacy and after crisis, which reduced the need for interpreter. This situation continued until the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, when negotiators, mainly politicians, began to reject the supremacy of the French language in favor of their own language. The development of high-level contact between nations and the creation of a large international organization led to the birth of a new form of interpreting, simultaneous interpreting. Consecutive interpreting mean that the time spent in negotiation had to be multiplied by the number of language that each statement had be transferred into, which was a very time consuming process. Despite this initial reticence, the practice of simultaneous interpreting developed and began to be used in some international conferences. But it was with the Nuremberg trial that simultaneous interpreting was finally accepted, as it was important that such a politically urgent process not last longer than public sentiment could bear. From then on, simultaneous interpreting became essential not only for big international institutions like the United Nations or European Union, but also in the world of business and culture, where people increasingly use this tip type of interpreting. Uh, Thank you very much.